Thanks for supporting the ESO Network. For all you Patreon supporters, here's some bonus ex- here's some bonus exclusive topics we talked about on our Cosmic Crossfire segment, part of the Pop Culture Cosmos and the PCC Multiverse. Thanks for supporting the ESO Network. For all you Patreon supporters out there, here's some bonus exclusive topics we talked about on our Cosmic Crossfire segment, part of the Pop Culture Cosmos and the PCC Multiverse. On our latest episode, we're talking the debate over gun violence and video games and ask if there truly is a connection. We're also breaking down the NCAA tourney. We're also breaking down the NCAA men's tournament, TV ratings news, and can Kevin Feige keep his Marvel mouth shut? Let me try that again. On our latest episode, we're talking the debate over gun violence and video games and ask if there truly is a connection. We're also breaking down the NCAA men's basketball tourney, TV ratings news, and can Kevin Feige keep his Marvel mouth shut when it comes to upcoming spoilers. All this and more as we once again delve into the pop culture cosmos. And we're back with another great episode of the Pop Culture Cosmos. My name is Gerald Glassford from Pop Culture Cosmos and Game Source. We truly appreciate you hanging around here and checking us out on today's show. But it wouldn't be a Pop Culture Cosmos without my good friend. He is the man, the myth, the legend behind Humanica Media. You got to check out all their great stuff today on humanicamedia.com. Also as well, Humanica Media on YouTube. And all their great shows on Apple Podcasts and Podbean. It's my good friend, Mr. Josh Peterson. What's up, my friend?
Hey, I'm just sitting here playing some Devil May Cry 4. Stoked, man.
Indeed, it sounds like I'll tell you what, it is a great game, and I'm just glad you're getting a chance to enjoy and catch up with all the Devil May Cry stuff going on. I know we've got some streaming stuff coming in the near future as far as Halo is concerned, so I'm definitely looking forward to that as well. You got to check out all the great stuff that Josh is doing today on humanicamedia.com. Well, we've got a great episode for you. It's stacked with guests galore and a lot of great topics. We're going to be talking about Kevin Feige a little bit later on in the episode, about how he's spreading out those comments that he's making, and they go into spoilers territory, and Josh and I are really deciding whether we want Kevin Feige to continue talking and spreading those rumors, or if we just want him to, stay on the lowdown for a little while until Avengers Infinity War comes out and we're able to enjoy it ourselves. We're going to be talking about that in a little while. We've also got Skip from the Skip and Josh podcast. You got to check it out today on Apple Podcasts and many other outlets. He is going to be talking with me about the NCAA men's basketball tournament. The seeds are out. You got to get your brackets filled out. And he and I are coming up later on in the show to talk about what favorites and also what dark horses we like in each of the regions. We've also got our good friend Jessica Boggs from the TV Ratings Guide. She's going to be here talking a little bit about some of the TV shows going on in TV land and whether or not they're doing well, or some of them are maybe just not seeing the light of day, and maybe some of them are being close to canceled if they're not already. She's going to be sharing thoughts on that. And of course, Rob McCallum standing by in the Cosmic Crossfire as well. He's going to be talking with me about the future of the Muppets, something near and dear to his heart. And I hope you get a chance to listen to it, because it really a lot of it comes from the heart, as far as from both him and I on the future of the Muppets franchise. But first, Josh, I know personally you and I have been hearing this as gamers over the past 15, 20 years. Actually, a little bit even more than that when it comes to gun violence and the association of gun violence with video games. The debate has now been going strong for almost a quarter century. ever since the unfortunate events at Columbine and going forward with a lot of other events as well. I can tell you personally, if you want true actual facts as best reported, somebody that I interviewed in the past, Colin Campbell of Polygon.com, he has a great article now talking about the history of blaming video games for mass murder and all these gun violence issues. You want to check that out on Polygon.com. I've spoken to him in the past. He's very knowledgeable and actually has a very detailed outline on it. But Josh, I know we wanted to talk about the subject after you approached me and said, hey, we got to talk about this because representatives from the video game industry met with individuals at the White House. Obviously, what was shown was the shock and awe sizzle reel of the negative things that could be persuaded or shown against when it comes to video game violence. I don't believe there is an association between the two. I've been playing video games and violent video games now for well upon 30 years of my life, and I know millions of other people has as well. I know millions of other people have as well. I truly see that there is no connection, especially because the amount of people that do play violent video games. But your thoughts on violent video games, and is there a connection between gun violence and violent video games that really should have people concerned?
No, I mean, there's no proof that happens. We've talked about this before. I mean, not pertaining to video games, but pertaining to gun violence. Like, at the end of the day, it's the individual that makes these choices. And I don't know if you read my, I had a little thing on social media where I was asking people what they thought about it. And this, there's a mom that was trying to like kind of debate with me a little bit, and she was saying that like. She's like, oh, well, that I'm like, I review games and like I play them and I've never had them influence my thoughts. And she was like, well, that's because you have a fully formed adult brain. And she's like, do violent video games affect the minds of kids? Not completely, but when you mix in bowling and mental health and all this other stuff, it creates a potent combination. But here's my rebuttal to that. Even when I was a kid, like it didn't really affect me. I loved playing them. The only way it really affected me mentally was that I just wanted to keep playing them. But, to what she was saying, I get from being a position of a mother that you would want to protect your kids from something like that. But at what point do we make the masses, not masses, but do we make, responsible people suffer because one or two people have, not one or two, but a few people have some bad circumstances? Because I, for one, think that video games are an excellent medium for storytelling. And yes, like games like Call of Duty take it too far sometimes, but then you have games like Wolfenstein, like they show in the sizzle reel for the White House gaming thing, and it's really just the violence serves a purpose. It's meant to propel the narrative forward and kind of just show, show the insanity of that whole thing. So I don't know, man. Like I don't think that there is a correlation. I think that people like to, like other things, like to pretend that when, video games come in the news, or they want to pretend like they're an expert, even though they don't actually play. So, I don't think that the mindset of a few people should ruin the consumption of everybody else, if that makes sense.
Well, that does make sense, but those individuals in government or lobbyists or anything of that nature that wants to put harm on the video game industry, they always attack the video game industry first and foremost, which is irritating beyond all description to me, because they don't attack those entities or those outlets. And I've given you this explanation before, this example, when WGN airs the original Lethal Weapon in the Christmas tree lot scene, which is as hyper violent as any video game out there, with Mel Gibson going crazy and blowing up everything and blowing away everyone in sight. Okay, when you see that original 1980s movie at 11 o'clock in the morning on a Saturday, 11 o'clock on a Saturday morning, per se, and you can, you know, 5-year-old, a 7-year-old, a 9-year-old can see that at any point in time during the given day, or something else that's violent, maybe a repeat of The Walking Dead or something of that nature on AMC, and they are just as susceptible to committing an act of violence basing off that, or maybe a picture or a painting or some work of art that has violent tendencies on it, or a book. What if you read a book that has violent tendencies in it as well? Why is it that just the video game industry is targeted? Well, it's because it seems like an easy get. It's a low-hanging fruit for a lot of these individuals that want to make a name for themselves and want to see if they can go ahead and go after it. They know they can't go after books or the movie industry or anything else with any real abandon, or the TV industry with any real abandon, like they can go after the video game industry, because it's relatively the hierarchy as far as a conglomerate is not that strong as far as the lobbying in the Capitol Hill. I mean, when it comes to the NRA, the National Rifle Association, whichever side of the fence you're on as far as gun control, no one can doubt the extreme power and control and influence that the NRA has, the National Rifle Association, at a government level. The same cannot be said for the video game conglomerate that gets together, and lobbyists that try to do their good in a government as far as promoting whatever they can for the video game industry. That there are very small, and they're very minute compared to that, compared to the TV or movie or book industry or anything of that nature that also can share a violent video game tendency, just as influential or even more so than anything that can be shown in a video game format. So personally, I see no correlation, but if you're going to try and go ahead and hunker down a little bit more, know the facts. There is a rating system out there already in place for video games. It's up to the parents out there. Again, this goes back to when I was running game stores and had adults coming in and buying GTA 4 for their kids, for their nephews, for their nieces, knowing full well, when I explained it to them, did you know there's this in it? Did you know there's that in it? It's the TV. Hey, it's an M-rated game. Do you really want to go ahead? And they'll do it anyways. Yep, my kid's got to play GTA. He's playing at the neighbor's house. That's the poorest excuse in the world. You know, stop with all that. To me, it's an issue of, do you want your kids playing the stuff? And the answer is no. Then you can control them you can control what it is they see and what it is they react to and what it is they interact with. As far as it being a correlation between video game violence and an actual gun violence, I don't see the correlation, again, because there's so many millions of people out there playing any type of shooter, from PUBG to Overwatch to Halo to Fortnite to whatever, that are good people that work hard, work 9 to 5, and don't do the things that, like you said, a minute amount of people do. Can I get off my soapbox? Can I get off my soapbox now?
I agree with you. Like, okay, I'm just going to touch on a bunch of random points here. One, that whole reel that they played. Okay, 1.1. The whole White House thing. They said they were meeting with members of the video game industry. They only invited 2 people. 2, the reel that they showed was a bunch of like, most of them were just cutscenes taken out of context. So that's like reading a chapter of a book that's hyper violent and then being like, oh, this is a terrible.
Well, if you're setting up the case against the video game industry, what do you expect? What are you going to throw at it? You're very smart if you try to go ahead and throw the worst images you can, no matter if they're from a cutscene or actual actual gameplay.
Right. Yeah. No. Exactly. And that's what they're going for. But and also, praise the Lord. We got the Entertainment Software Association, because that was put in place so the government couldn't interfere in the distribution of video games or how video games were made. So, at the end of the day, there's not really a lot that they can do, because video games are protected under the First Amendment and the ESA. So there's not really a lot they can do except encourage developers to make games less violent. But then you start breaking into censorship, and where's the line drawn? The thing that makes me sick about this is that it's all these, moms and stuff who are saying, yeah, video games are bad, but they're going out and buying these things for their kids. The regulation of these games needs to start in the home, because I know that, parents work late now. They have to support their kids, especially if you live in somewhere like California. So kids are spending a lot of time alone. So parents are just buying them. Like my nephew's mom does this, not my sister, his actual mom, but she goes out and she buys her kids like these hyper violent video games, locks them in rooms, and just lets them play all day. So I was picking my nephew up from school, and he has this he found a plastic sword, and he starts describing to me all the ways he would use it to kill somebody. And I'm like, dude, that's like, this is the problem right there, is that parents want to be friends with their kids instead of acting, instead of taking control and saying, hey, you can't play something like this. I wouldn't let my kids play it. So I don't know, man. It's like there's only the government's trying, I know they're trying to make it look like they're doing something, but at the end of the day, there's not much they can do, and people just keep complaining, especially like, Donald Trump supporters are the worst at this video game thing, because I've been just reading them complaining all the time, but they're the ones, don't go out and buy your kids video games, and then don't ruin it for the rest of us.
Exactly. And to me, that's very troubling, because well, let's put it this way. Again, if you go after the video game industry, then you have to go after the movie industry, the book industry, any sort of medium, the music industry with rap lyrics and things of that nature that have suggestive comments and have suggestive lyrics. You really want to go there? I don't think you should. As someone who has believed in free speech, who believes in the First Amendment, and who believes in art, as far as with all those mediums, you should stay clear of that and start, like you said, at home. It definitely does start at home, as far as what you need to do as individuals, as families. And don't give me the excuse that okay, you buy this for your kids and you lock them in a room. Hey, you know what? You can buy them. You know what? You can buy Mario Kart. You can buy Mario Kart and then put the kids in the room, or you can buy Donkey Kong and put them in a room, or you can buy The Legend of Zelda and you put it in a room. Okay, don't give me that. Or you can buy Madden, or you can buy something that's a E10 or E-rated game. You don't have to buy them a hyper violent, ultra violent games if you have any concerns on it, because it just or that teaches bad values right off the get-go. It's up to you as a parent and as an individual to understand what you're doing, and to blame gun violence on video game and any correlation to that is totally unfounded and totally mistaken. Any last thoughts?
Yeah. So I had listened to a parent say, like, hey, I buy my kids violent video games and I let them listen to bad music, but I have instilled in them a sense of morals. And I'm like, okay, that's cool. That's great. And then another person I listened to said, well, not every kid has that. Again, whose fault is that? It's not my fault. I feel for a kid who doesn't have like a parental support system. It's not my fault, and I shouldn't have to I know this sounds really cold, but like, I shouldn't be limited on what I'm allowed to consume because somebody else can't handle it, and I don't mean for that to sound rude, but that's where a lot of these parents want this to go. Instead of like taking ownership and taking responsibility and thinking, yeah, maybe they're right, I shouldn't do this. Some of them don't even want to practice parenting. So they just want to be their kid's friend. And as long as that temptation's out of the way, they're not the bad guys. So this is where the real problem lies in the home. And this is what, I realize that retailers can only do so much, but at the same time, you can't discriminate. That you start getting to discriminatory practices by, if an old lady comes in and buys a copy of Grand Theft Auto, you're like, you're probably buying that for your grandkid. We're not going to let you purchase that. They can't do that. So this is where, parenting is I think one of the bigger issues here besides video games.
When it comes down to it, Josh, it's just as simple. If you go down the road of censorship, that's taking away the values that we, as a country and as a free world, whether it's the United States, the Great Britain, Canada, or whoever uses free speech and freedom of information and freedom of speech type ideals, it takes away from that. And if you want to go down that road of censorship, you're going down a dark road that really has no payoff on the end, because unfortunately, unless you tackle the gun violence itself and get to the root of problem, why this is happening. And again, that's for another podcast, for another topic to go to, because this is as hardcore as we like to get here at the Pop Culture Cosmos. We like to keep it light and entertaining. So I'll say this, just finish it off on this.
Okay, I got one more after you're done.
Well, go ahead.
Okay. I was gonna say, at the end of the day, there's not really any regulating. If they were to introduce things, we would have the same problem that Donald Trump's trying to fix right now. He wants to bring jobs back. We're gonna start sending game development jobs across the seas, and then we're just gonna start importing again, because that's how we used to get video games before that weren't sold here. So, where there's a will, there's a way. But they'd be stupid to censor the gaming industry, because much like the craft beer industry, there's a decent amount of money comes out of the American indie developers. So I don't, there's a lose-lose situation.
It is, and it's so funny because Australia, a great country and beautiful country as it is, often gets ridiculed for its gaming policies, because blood has to turn green. So instead of a red blood coming out, it'd be a green blood and things of that nature. And as far as the censorship there on video games is somewhat mocked, I know, within the industry. But I'll just leave it at this, that the foundation of our country and many others that salute free speech was not founded off of censorship, and nor should it continue. And the correlation between gun violence and also as well video game and violent video games is not there. And anybody who tries to attach it to each other is really looking in the wrong direction. Woo! What are your thoughts on the video game and gun violence debate? This has been going on for, like I said earlier, about 25 years now, close to 30, and there's really still just the same answers back and forth. But we want to hear your thoughts. What are your thoughts on it? Share us. What are your thoughts on it? Share us your thoughts. popculturecosmos@yahoo.com. Also as well, Pop Culture Cosmos, Humanica Media, and Game Source on Facebook and Twitter as well. Well, we're going to bring it back to down to earth as far as some light stuff going on. We just appreciate you listening to us and letting us vent a little bit, because this is such a major topic to talk about. Appreciate it so much. When we come back, Rob McCallum is standing by in the Cosmic Crossfire. He's going to be talking about something that both he and I shared so much as far as in our childhood, and hopefully we'll still be able to share with more children for many years to come. And that's the story of the Muppets. He's going to talk a little bit more about that. And later on, we're going to be talking to Skip from the Skip and Josh podcast. He's going to be breaking down the NCAA tourney. And our good friend Jessica Boggs is back from the TV Ratings Guide and TVRatingsGuide.com to break down more TV ratings news. And then Josh and I will be back on the back end talking Kevin Feige of Marvel. This is the Pop Culture Cosmos. Coming up next, it's Skip. Coming up next, it's Skip from Skip and Josh. Coming up next, it's Skip from the Skip and Josh podcast, talking about the NCAA men's basketball tourney. Who does he like? Who does he think's the dark horse? And who does he think is going to go all the way in the NCAA Final Four? This is the Pop Culture Cosmos. Coming up next, it's Jessica Boggs from the TV Ratings Guide. She's going to be breaking down some of the latest TV ratings news. This is the Pop Culture Cosmos. And we're back to close out the show. This is the Pop Culture Cosmos. We truly appreciate you being part of the broadcast here today. Got to make sure to tell you, if you have any trouble catching our show, just go head over to our Pop Culture Cosmos Facebook page. We've got our lineup of all the great shows and where we're at. But to break it down for you, on Sundays, we're on Airwave Radio in the UK. Also as well, Good Talk Radio out of Arizona. Great stations indeed. Monday, we're on the Podcast Radio Network, our original home. Croc Radio in Canada, Grey Cloud Radio, an awesome station as well, and IPMNation.com on their IPM Nation 1 channel. Those are all on Monday nights. On Tuesday, it's Western Reserve Digital Broadcasting. Wednesday, it's Grey Cloud Radio. Thursday, it's Western Reserve again. Friday, it's the Podcast Radio Network, Croc Radio, Grey Cloud Radio, IPM Nation, and then on Saturday, it's Grey Cloud Radio. And if you need to download our show with extra content, like actually on this one, we're going to add another Backed or Busted crowdfunding. Want to check us out? You can subscribe and download our show via Apple Podcasts, Anchor, Anchor.fm, Podbean, Podchaser, Tangibound Network, ESO Network, Gonna Geek Network, and over 24 different podcast networks. And don't forget, and just to let you know, we want to welcome our latest station to our syndicated family of networks, and syndicated family of networks. Want to welcome WeBeGeekPC.com, the WeBeGeek network. Is it WeBeGeek or WeBeGeeks? It's WeBeGeeks.
You be geek. I be geek. You be geek. We be geek.
We all scream for be geeks. Is it We Be Geek or We Be Geeks? Hold on, let me check. Sweet. Okay. We're part, and coming soon, we're going to be part of the We Be Geeks network. You want to check it out today at WeBeGeekPC.com. That's WeBeGeekPC.com. We're part of the We Be Geeks network. Very soon, we're setting everything up. And so this week, we should be on there as well with our shows. So definitely look forward to that. If you really like their stuff, because they've got Jock and Nerd and the other nerds podcasts that are out there and all the great pop culture stuff that's on there. We just truly appreciate being part of that networks as well, and want to give a shout out to them. Like I said, if you want to download our show, we're on so many different networks, and you just got to head over to our Pop Culture Cosmos Facebook page to find out. Josh has got a great thing going on with Humanica Media. So Josh, give me the 411 on what's going on with your great stop known as Humanica Media.
A new episode of Topicocalypse just dropped 10 minutes ago, so you can run on over to Podbean and check that out right now. They're talking about Altered Carbon. We had a returning guest to the show, Brett Cruz, who asked us if we could live forever like an altered carbon, would we? And what would we do with immortality? And
I would not watch that show. I tried to get through 2, and on the second one, I was just like, I had enough.
I've heard good things about it. I'll have to watch one episode just to see if I can hang in there.
It is Blade Runner-ish. I'll give it that. But yeah, I just didn't like the writing on it. I thought it was like really lackluster.
I like James Purefoy as an actor. I think he's underrated, and he doesn't get cast in a lot of things anymore. So it's always nice to see him on screen. But yeah, I'm going to have to check it out because I know Jessica Jones just came back on too, and there's a couple of their Netflix movies I've been meaning to watch. So I'll get around to those eventually. Also, there is a new episode of Super BS dropping on Thursday night. Sorry. And a new episode of What About This coming at you on Monday night. And also you can check out our show on the Ye Olde Podcast Radio Network on Tuesday nights at 6:30. Right?
I thought it was 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Pacific.
Yeah, what Gerald said. So yeah, be sure to check us out there. And also you can find us on the Book of Faces and Twitter, Instagram, all that good stuff.
Absolutely. That's Attack of the Humanicans on the Podcast Radio Network, Tuesday night, 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Pacific. One of the most popular shows on that network, along with our shows, both the PCC Multiverse on Friday, and of course this one that drops every Monday night. So Josh, before we head on out, I know we haven't got much time left. Do want to thank very much Skip from the Skip and Josh podcast. You got to check out their show. Thank him so much for stopping on by, sharing his great knowledge on the NCAA men's basketball tournament. Of course, Rob McCallum, as always, in the Cosmic Crossfire. And Jessica Boggs, she's always awesome as part of the TV Ratings Guide, TVRatingsGuide.com. But Josh, before we head on out, we got to talk about Kevin Feige. I love the guy and cannot thank him enough for what he's done with his masterminding the Marvel Cinematic Universe. But can this man just please hush when it comes to all these Marvel spoilers. Every time I look around, as far as when I'm searching the internet for stories to share on Pop Culture Cosmos that I really think will be good, every time I turn around, every single day, I hear a new Kevin Feige spills the beans on this. Kevin Feige spills the beans on that. Kevin Feige shares thoughts on this. Kevin Feige shares the Infinity War ending. Kevin Feige tells you this. Kevin Feige tells you that. That's fine that you go ahead and tell everybody that there is a Black Panther 2 coming out. Hey, it's over $1 billion. It's no brainer. Of course, of course, there's a Black Panther 2 coming out. Yeah, that's a no brainer. But when it comes to the, people alluding to the Infinity War ending and things of that nature, please, Kevin, you just gotta slow down on the rumors. Is it it bothers me a little bit because I really like to go in the movie and not have to know or really a whole lot about it before I go into it. But unfortunately, it's getting harder and harder to avoid all these spoilers. Am I overreacting and saying too much, or do you think Kevin Feige needs to just slow down on all the Marvel talk?
I think he needs to slow down. He reminds me of one of those people that gets so excited about what they're doing at work that they want to keep like saying, "Hey, so this is going to happen, and this is going to happen, and this is going to happen," and it's they just keep throwing ideas out there, and maybe half of them will come to life, but just need to think about what you're saying and think about how it's affecting the way other people view the movie. And I'll be completely honest with you, like I wasn't feeling Marvel fatigue too much until he said that there's going to be Black Panther spin-off movies, and I was just because I have no desire to watch that. Just like I have no desire to see a Boba Fett movie. I don't care about the origins of the ancestral plane. I want to see the story move forward. I don't want all these spin-offs just because Black Panther made $1 billion. I make a sequel. Keep moving forward with the story. I don't want to go backwards. I don't want to go into the intricacies of everything. And as for Avengers, everyone already kind of knew that something was going to happen, but yeah, he needs to just stop. Like, let us watch it. Just let us say things. I know he sometimes gets cornered by journalists and nerd bloggers and stuff, so he feels the need to give away something, but he just needs to ask himself, like, at what point is it too much?
Yeah, exactly. And it just, to me, is just as someone who, as two individuals who have journalism degrees, we understand that it is our job to sometimes go out and seek those answers. But when it comes to stuff that we are very passionate about as well, we kind of just hold off on asking those really tough questions that we really don't want the answers for quite yet, just so we can grab a headline, just so we can get some clicks, just so we can provide some clickbait. No, at some point in time, Kevin has just got to slow down and realize maybe shouldn't be so much out there, because that ultimately will hurt yourself with the movie and the people that may not go to it because they already know what the ending's going to be. And that to me is a shame, because the experience of seeing this in a theater cannot be described to anybody who has committed themselves through the Marvel Cinematic Universe like we have, and to go out there on the screen and to just enjoy it for everything we can, and not be burdened with, okay, what, did you hear this? Did you hear what he said here? Did you hear what he said here? Because that to me it's truly kind of a detriment before you actually even go see the movie. And any last thoughts on the way out, Josh? Because this to me is just really, it's just grinds my gears. I'll tell you that much.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to know. Me, like, the way I like to view movies. I like to know as little as possible about any movie before I go in to see it. And for this exact reason, I've been avoiding clicking on anything that has anything to do with Marvel for the past several months. So I get that he's excited about what he does, and we all are super grateful for what he does, but he just needs to relax, man. Just calm down, stop tweeting things, stop spilling beans in the interviews. We want to know, but we don't want to know. And it's up to him to find the balance.
And I'll tell you what, let's get some money together. Let's pool our money together and buy him a t-shirt. It's going to use those sayings that, were so 2016, but I'm just going to use it here. Calm down and don't spill the beans. What are your thoughts on Kevin Feige and his constant sharing of spoilers regarding the Marvel Cinematic Universe? Share us your thoughts, popculturecosmos at yahoo.com. We all love Kevin Feige and thank him for everything he did, but is it been just a little bit too much out there as far as spreading out all the stuff that's confirmed as far as the what we're going to be seeing in these upcoming Marvel movies? Share us your thoughts, popculturecosmos at Yahoo, popculturecosmos at yahoo.com. Also, as well, Pop Culture Cosmos, Humanity Media, and Game Source on Facebook and Twitter as well. So, Josh, it's been a great one, and I appreciate you being on Friday, Tomb Raider, and we're going to talk more about that, but that's coming up for you. I know you're going to be excited about that, right?
Oh, yeah.
Couldn't have said it better myself. So, for Josh Peterson, this is Gerald Glassford. It's another beautiful day in paradise right here in the Pop Culture Cosmos. We thank you for listening. And here's hoping you have yourself a great day. My countdown went awry.
I just see fingers waving.
Yeah, I know. It's like 5, and then all of a sudden my fourth finger wouldn't pop up, so it's been 5 to 3. All right, 3. Thanks so much for supporting Humanity Media's Patreon page. Thanks so much for supporting Humanity Media's Patreon page. We truly appreciate it. And as a bonus, we're going to be giving you some extra content from us right here at the Pop Culture Cosmos. So Josh, I'll tell you what, it's been a great weekend at the box office, obviously with what's going on, still with the tremendous rise of Black Panther, now over $1 billion at the box office, my friend. I want to hear your thoughts on Black Panther reaching that 1 billion plateau. And I'm going to say it first, right off the bat. I was surprised a little bit with the momentous train known as Black Panther. I told you 900 I thought would probably be the max. I'm so grateful that I was wrong, and I'm so grateful and happy that it is now on going over $1 billion and still going strong.
Okay, this is going to make me wildly unpopular with people, but I went to see Black Panther a second time this past week. And I look back at it, and while I did still like it, it really doesn't offer anything to me that's not in, an average superhero movie. Like it's in my top 5 favorite Marvel films, but it's not worthy of beating The Dark Knight in box office numbers. I don't, I know why it's beating it. And the thing is, like, I've been looking at it this way, like, how much would this movie be doing if it wasn't so socially significant with people? And like, yes, it's great that it's socially significant, but I'm just looking at it like, what would people be saying about it? I'm just trying to like play the devil's advocate in my mind. What are your thoughts on that? Like, just out of curiosity.
Well, I'll tell you this, and I know you and I have talked about it before previously. I put Black Panther in my top 5. I will have it on my list of superhero movies. It'll be updated before Infinity War on the Pop Culture Cosmos site that we have, popculturecosmos.wordpress.com, and it will be in that top 5. Do I think it's better than The Dark Knight? I don't think it's better than Dark Knight because of that performance by that performance as Joker was just truly inspiring as far as being such a bad guy beyond all bad guy. And Heath Ledger just truly immersed himself like I've never seen before in a villainous character, even better than Michael B. Jordan's great performance. Let's just put that in context here. Also, as well, I thought the movie as a whole flowed a little tiny bit better than Black Panther, but Black Panther is still the best movie I have seen far and away this year. It is still an excellent, excellent movie. But I get what you're saying. It's because I know my daughter wants to see it again for a second time. I'm kind of hesitant for that same exact reason that you said, because of, is it a movie that the second time around I'm really going to enjoy, or do I want to wait until it hits the home video or television markets where I can, I have a different mindset when I watch Marvel movies there, but there are movies in the Marvel Cinematic Universe that are in my top 5 to 10 that I will watch more than others. I've told you very much that Captain America, the first Avenger, is to me one of the most watchable films in the MCU by far for me. I just think it flows so well, especially in the format of a television, watching it on TV, when you watch on FX or whatever, that it just flows so well on repeat viewings, because it just really, really just connects with me on a certain level in that format. Conversely, the Avengers, it's a good watch, but I don't want to watch it on television as much as I want to watch it, Captain America, the First Avenger, which is weird because I have the Avengers as a better movie than the First Avenger. And same thing goes with Guardians of the Galaxy and also the Winter Soldier. I'll watch those, but I won't watch them as much as I would the First Avengers. So, it's so weird that I think that way. And I have a feeling if I have repeated viewings so soon of Black Panther, I'm going to feel the same way about it, because it just, like you said, it's a Marvel thing, and the way it flows as a movie using that familiar Marvel formula, no matter what the social contributions are, it just seems to me like it may not be as good the second time around.
Right. And, don't get me wrong, like it is a good movie. And to us, we have a certain bias. Hold on, sorry. 1 second. Stop. Sorry. For me and you, like we hold a certain bias.
Looking at you like, did you just talk to me?
I don't know, look, he's like,
talk to me?
What?
What?
With me and you, like we have a certain bias when it comes to superhero movies. So we're gonna like, when it comes to Marvel films, we're gonna like it. I mean, we're not gonna hate it, and it's just gonna be something that we enjoy. So we already have that going for us. But there are other Marvel movies I would rather watch than Black Panther. So like I look at it and it's like, well, it's still in my top 5. It's not in my mind the upper echelon of Marvel films. Like I would much rather watch. Like I think that Captain America: The Winter Soldier completely blows Black Panther out of the water.
As do I. I mean, that's the number one on my list.
So yeah, it just makes me wonder: are people just stoked on it right now? Or is it something they're gonna go when it comes out on Blu-ray or digital or whatever? They're gonna go out and buy it, and they're gonna be like, oh, this is good. Every time they watch it, they're gonna be like, this is the greatest superhero movie ever made. Or are they just stoked on it right now because it's become such a social trend that once all the hype dies down, they're gonna sit back and watch them because they're gonna be like, oh, maybe this wasn't as good as I thought it was the first time.
Yes, and like I said, it is an outstanding movie. We're not making any bones about that. But I'll put it to you similar to this. TJ Johnson, who appeared, he's from The Voice from the Underground and his upcoming Gaming Thrones show. He appeared on our show and it talked about how important it is to the African American community and to him as an African American. Told with such passion and such grace and such context, very, very, very graciously described how the movie moved him, and he's seen it these 3 times. The last time I talked to him, but still, if you asked him what his favorite Marvel movie is or what he thinks is the best, it is Winter Soldier. So even he understands the social significance and the impact of the movie, but he is still able to put it intelligently in a context. But anybody who does make it number one, you know what? I can't blame you, because it does inspire and it does do a lot of great things in the movie. And like you said, and like we said, it's still in our top 5. So it can be a number one for a lot of people out there, and legitimately so for other reasons outside of the social messages that were there and what it means as far as a cultural impact is concerned. As a movie standing by itself, definitely a lot of people should think by all given takes and by all rights should make the claim that it could be their favorite in the movie, and it is definitely something that it legitimately can be a lot of people's number one movie because it is a very, very good movie. 97% on Rotten Tomatoes. Can't go wrong there. Over $1 billion at the box office. Obviously, people of all demographics across the board are watching it, and it's gone beyond the social and cultural impact as far as that's concerned of the first couple weeks. It is now truly the blockbuster of 2018, and we're so happy for everyone at Marvel and because of it. But that doesn't mean it's going to be the movie we will recommend for repeat viewings down the road, just because it may not sit well. It may not sit as well as some others. Like I said, for me, the Captain America: The First Avenger is probably the one I can easily watch the most, and that's not in my top four Marvel movies. So if that gives you any ideas, so I don't know, Josh, does that make kind of sense at all, or?
Yeah, no, it makes perfect sense. My question here is, do you think that, there's a lot of scenes it appears in Infinity War that seem to take place in Wakanda, and there's, they're fighting all the characters that people know and love from the Black Panther are there. So is that inspiration going to carry over into an ensemble film, or is it going to have the same type of impact, not on a social movement, but just in the eyes of children who see it in that way? Like, is it going to have the same kind of impact, do you think?
I hope so. I'm not 100% sold on it. I just hope it does. I'm hope, like for instance, the fact that we didn't think it was going to hit $1 billion, that was going to be very successful, but it wasn't going to be $1 billion. I'm glad I was wrong, and I'm hoping that it will continuously, the cast and crew with repeated showings, whether it's the Infinity War movies, whether it's Black Panther 2, or as you talked about, Black Panther, as far as any offshoot films, it's all as well. I'm hoping that layer of quality is which probably is the most important thing I could convey here, that layer of quality and care about the product and the individuals that carry that product is made and made with love and care, the same kind that they made for Black Panther. And if that's the case, it's going to be great viewing for a lot of people for many years to come.
Yeah, I mean that's what I'm hoping. But we'll see, man. Because we, as part of our MCU and review type thing that we were doing, we noticed that some of the movies we really liked the first time watching them, and then the second time or the third time or whatever going back, they started to slide lower and lower down our list. So we'll just have to wait and see, a couple years from now, if Black Panther holds up. Like for me, like everyone loves Spider-Man Homecoming, but I would much rather watch Amazing Spider-Man. So I get it, but we'll have to see, man. In Infinity War, is it still going to hold that significance to people, or does that significance only stand when he's in a standalone film? Because I thought that, Black Panther is awesome in Civil War. I loved watching him in that one. But I'm a comic nerd, so I'm kind of unbiased towards that kind of thing. But who knows, man? We'll have to we'll see what the future holds. I'm glad the movie's doing so well. And it's cool that, because a majority of the people I talk to who have seen it are saying that they're, many of them have not seen barely any other Marvel films. They've seen maybe a few. Some have seen none. So it's cool that's getting people interested.
Well, I will say this, that the Avengers, I was so enthralled with it when it first came out back in 2011, if I'm mistaken, and thought that was the most awesome thing, or 2012, whatever it came out, that it thought it was really going to go straight up to the top of my list. And it was one time at the top of my list. But with repeated viewings and also as well other movies coming in the fray, it's fallen ever so slightly down a notch, down a notch, down a notch. And you see better stuff coming along. And I think that's going to be the same for Black Panther. It's going to be the same for probably Winter Soldier at some point in time. Guardians of the Galaxy, which are also high up on my list. that at some point in time there's going to be better movies coming along that's going to wow us, that's going to replace those. I mean, that's the inevitability of time, and the chance to make more movies out there. So I'm hoping that it will find continued success. Black Panther long term, the Black Panther foundation for the movies to come within the Black Panther universe, and also as well for Infinity War and the rest of the MCU. And just so glad to see that it's still going strong, and in fact, in some ways, better than ever. Share us your thoughts out there in the Humanica Media and Patreon land about your thoughts on Black Panther. We would truly love your feedback on it. Share us your thoughts, popculturecosmos@yahoo.com, or as well, Humanica Media, Game Source, and Pop Culture Cosmos on Facebook and Twitter as well. So, Josh, on this extra bonus footage we have available for only Humanica Media followers on Patreon, do you have any last thoughts on any other subjects that's out there that's meeting your pop culture fancy?
Just one. So when I've been sitting here playing Devil May Cry 4, and I'm noticing that there's a trend in, ever since Twilight came out, there's been a trend with people taking video game mythology. Well, okay, video games take mythology from old Transylvanian tales usually, and then biblical themes and whatnot. But they look cool in video games, and then people try to take the watered down themes from video games and put them into teen fantasy romance novels. And I noticed that my sister was reading this series called Fallen, and actually made a movie out of it about Seraphim. So that's what Dante and Nero are in Devil May Cry. They're like a mixture of what happened when like an angel and a demon breed together. So I'm asking you, do you think that these these characters are going to start being uncool in video games because teen romance writers have made them uncool?
I don't think until they really associate the two together, because I think they're, for the most part, they're kind of like separate segments of the population that follow the Twilight series now, what on Freeform or what now FX or wherever it's on now, or also as well the video game industry. I don't see them connecting it at all. If there are, there's going to be a few gaming trolls out there who do, but I don't see it until maybe there's another Twilight series or something that uses that type of correlation come out, because I think at the time that the Twilight series was going strong, gamers were kind of staying away from it. And I really think that they weren't paying attention to the Twilight series, and Twilight series fans weren't paying attention really to video games for the most part, and vice versa. I just didn't really get that vibe that they were really intermixing thoughts on the two actually meshing. So, and plus, it's always comes down to, when it comes down to video game, as far as the story, does it connect with the audience? Does it connect with the gamer? The Devil May Cry series is done so well because they've been able to get Dante's Quest as far as something that connects with the audience, and as far as the Twilight series, they've been able to do the same, even with their, as I was telling my girls last night, their pop-off dispenser Pez heads, that come off as far as the movie is concerned. But I think, that kind of here or there. I know it was a dream sequence and all that, but whatever. But anyways, I don't really see them two intermixing. I don't see really much of that happening unless there's another big, huge series like we've seen out of that series that would get gamers all up in an uproar, and let the trolls begin, and do something with another series if a Devil May Cry 5, 6, 7 come about. So I don't see the threat of it happening, but you never know when it comes to gamers.
Right. It's just interesting to me because, like, before Twilight came out, I was a huge Castlevania fan. So like I love the Lords of Shadows. But then Twilight came out, and that now, like, the prospect of going back and playing another Castlevania game, I'm like, more vampires.
I
I
think
don't
it's
think
just you. I think it just bothers. I think it just bothers just you. I think you're that 1 in a million exception.
I'm gonna have to write about this.
Otherwise, but first, you got to check out Twilight on Freeform because I hear that's all they play. So I used to kid Jessica Boggs at the TVRatesGuide.com. All they play is Harry Potter and Twilight every single day. But I don't know if that's the case anymore. But you guys send your thoughts into Pop Culture Cosmos, Humanity Media, or Game Source, and let us know if that's what they still play. I think I saw it on FX the other night as far as when I was turning the channels, but you never know whether Twilight can appear anywhere. All right, that'll do it for the extra bonus material for the Patreon page. Supporters of Humanity Media, we truly appreciate you doing so. Check out all the great stuff for Humanity Media, including Topicocalypse, the Super BS Gamescast, What About This, and all the other great things coming up. And I know Josh has asked me about doing a new podcast as far as him, having his own little baby he can stroke and pet and love, and as a podcast of his own that won't get any interference from anyone, especially me. So hopefully,
I'm like video games, man. I can't be censored.
There you go. Exactly. So you got the lowdown on that. So hopefully that'll come to fruition as well. But check out all the great stuff going on, all the Humanity Media formats. And again, we thank you for supporting Humanity Media on Patreon.